Hey, this is Mark Henry, author of Dancing with Energy, Healing Magic, and Mysticism, here to talk to you more about the occult and the paranormal. Well, today I'm going to be talking about, actually, it's the topic, the second part of a topic we did last week on Carlos Castaneda. So this one is called the Sorcery of Don Carlos. Before I begin, as usual, I just wanted to mention that I'm offering attunements in my attunement store. So if you want to level up your magic, improve your life, enhance your abilities, then check it out. I'll put a link in the description. I recently put in Rashun, the spirit of charm and seduction. So if you want to improve that area of your life, then feel free to check that out. All right, so last week I talked about the life history and the works of Carlos Castaneda. And today I'm going to be talking a little bit about some of his ideas for self-improvement and sorcery that was coming through his books. He wrote 12. Find those on Amazon. The first one and most popular is the Teachings of Don Juan, a Yaqui way of sorcery. Right, so let's get started. So number one, the power of silence. We as human beings have this internal dialogue. Some say internal monologue, but people say dialogue because it's almost like kind of like a conversation between two people. It's this mental chatter that we have that we basically have with ourselves. It's how we describe and make sense of the world, according to Carlos Castaneda. Its flow maintains our familiar perceptions and ways that we think about the world, moment by moment. And this dialogue is basically a kind of a form of thinking. Now, if this flow of internal dialogue is suspended, then he says our entire world would collapse. The way that we think about things, it would kind of implode on itself. And if you ever had that experience for even a brief moment, you can through meditation or that sort of thing, you will notice how everything changes, everything gets quiet, and there is actual peace of mind. This is called stopping the world. And this is the beginning part of liberation and freedom on the path of sorcery. And this clear perception based on the silence of our internal dialogue is what he calls seeing. Not looking, but seeing. Kind of seeing through the illusion of the world. Next concept is not doing. So there is the doing, which is performing the actions according to the thinking of the internal dialogue. Because from the internal dialogue, that is how we shape our reality. It's how we make sense of the world, how we think about ourselves. And in certain parts of the book, they talk about the ego, which, if you're familiar with Buddhism and other lines of thought, you'll know that kind of idea is connected with that. So with that internal dialogue, the doing, our actions correspond to how about our internal dialogue, how it works, how it flows, and so it all kind of supports itself as a system. So he has this idea of not doing, which is another way of saying that we have to stop these habitual actions from this dialogue. Some might even do the opposite of that in order to kind of break that pattern. because it breaks the flow of the description of the world. It changes it, and it helps you open up to the unknown side of reality and oneself. People have done this before where they will get into a rut, a systematic way of doing things, systematic way of thinking about things, and then they might do the opposite, which would be maybe doing something they're afraid of, maybe uh, going on a trip when they don't like to travel, just kind of break out of these rigid templates that they have created for themselves. So how would one break all this up, break up this internal dialogue? The author Victor Sanchez, uh, who is very much a follower of the Carlos Castaneda line of thinking, says things like that what you would want to do is maybe when you hear the internal dialogue, change it into a rhyme if you can, or to try to, when you hear the words, to say it backwards, or to sign a letter to each letter, I mean, a letter to each word that you're saying. So um, the word might be F, another word might be G, and this, it's not important that you get it all right. It's important that this sort of flow of internal dialogue is broken. Next thing is called recapitulation, and this is something very big in the Carlos Castaneda and Don Juan universe. So repeat recapitulation is remembering or reliving memories, and these are bodily recovering of all memories and experiences. Our memories are not just in our head, they're in our body. In that these memories, and I guess in some ways you can think of them as adverse experiences, things that you don't necessarily want to keep for yourself, that they have an impact on your energy field, they have an energy impact on your body, your brain, and all of that. So recapitulation is a way of remembering and to, I guess another way to say is reintegrate it and allow it to be and not let it affect you. There's a recapitulation they talk about in the books that happens just before death, and you've heard about this with people who have near-death experiences where they have the review of their life, where they go through and they process it, sometimes with another spiritual being, like an angel or a guide or something like that, or God. But that is a similar concept. So this recapitulation supposedly happens just before death, but you can do it consciously before death as kind of on your path to the warrior, as they say. Recapitulation is an expression of stalking, according to the Don Juan books, and the stalking is more like stalking yourself, observation, strategies to work towards the liberation of your mind in order for you to reach your potential, have extraordinary abilities, that sort of thing. Because of memories, traumas, attachments, these sorts of things, usually unpleasant things, that there are microfilaments or energy lines that go out into the universe and go and attach to people and things, and that this recapitulation process that one goes through is actually recalling and retrieving these microfilaments, these energy lines. So how does one go about doing the recapitulation exercise? I've read several versions of this, one of which was on somebody, one of his students on a kind of a video who talked about having to write a list of everybody that you ever met, and you might start, from most recent back, and break it up, and then do the recapitulation where you start to go through and walk into meeting this person and different things like that, and in a room. And what you would do is you would breathe in kind of what you wanted to keep from it and breathe out what you didn't. Now that is a different version, and you go through the entire thing. This cannot be done in one setting. This could take months or years depending on the pace that you want to do this at. The Victor Sanchez version essentially is you're writing down not necessarily the people, but experiences of your life. And you might start in categories like financial, love, employment, and stuff, and write down in categories and go through it. Or you might start from the beginning, from with your earliest memories to now, or now and go backwards. And you would, when you have your list, you have a good sense of it. What you would do is you would start and you put yourself in a box, like a coffin, or he even suggested building your own box. And then when you go into the box where it's dark, that's when you go through and you start hitting your list and doing your breathing, and you're breathing in. You're the breathing, for the way that he does it is, this is the breathing in is to attract these memories so they can come to consciousness so you can deal with them. And as you're breathing and you're remembering them, you're reintegrating them, and then when you come across something that you want to let go of, maybe something unpleasant, an attachment, something like that, or to release one of these filaments, you would breathe out. So breathing out would be for the separation, and breathing in would be to kind of attract the memories, and to maybe even keep what you wanted to keep out of it. So that, in a nutshell, is recapitulation. Now, what I went over today isn't in an exhaustive list of the Carlos Castaneda stuff. There's plenty of other things that he kind of talked about. But I just kind of wanted to make a kind of an introductory video on his ideas. Okay, so thanks for watching. I'll put a link in the description to the Attunement Store. If you're interested in my Patreon, where I post videos, sometimes second parts of these videos that are on YouTube, or private message me there if you have in-depth questions. Otherwise, please subscribe and like, hit the notification bell, and I will see you in a future video. Take care.